All right, welcome back from Kakaki Social. Definitely is the fourth Wednesday in the month of June, and that makes it Kakaki Cancer Awareness on the program. We would be doing this with our partner, the Commod Cancer Foundation, and the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Denise Ejo, will be beaming her spotlight on how best a family as a unit can navigate the situation when cancer enters the family. Together with our guest, Mide Agbola, who is a female engineer and more importantly, a cancer survivor, they would do this. Good morning, Dr. Ejo.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. How are you too?
I'm good. You're looking very good. I always tell you this whenever I see you, you're coming very bright.
I'm trying to be like you when I grow up.
No, 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 don't try that. Yeah,
All right.
nice to
So,
see you.
thank you. So you're discussing how to navigate as a family when cancer enters the family.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Here we go. Thank you. Morning, viewers. Morning. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Common Cancer Awareness with Denise Ejo in partnership with AIT. Together we fight, together we win. I am, as I said, Dr. Denise Ejo, the CEO of Common Cancer Foundation. So June is Survivors Month, a time when we celebrate every person who has faced cancer with courage, every family that has stood beside a loved one through treatment, and every caregiver whose quiet sacrifice often goes unnoticed. Cancer is never just one person's journey. When someone receives a diagnosis, the entire family begins a journey together. Parents, spouses, children, siblings, friends, and even neighbors often become part of the treatment. Today we're talking about when cancer enters the home, how families survive the journey together. Very crucial part of our lives. And joining me to discuss this is someone whose story speaks of resilience, hope, and determination. Mide Agbola is an electrical engineer, a talented crafter, a passionate advocate for treatment choice in cancer care, and a cancer survivor. She's also the proud mother of two children, including a second child whom she welcomed after completing her cancer treatment. Mide, good morning. It's very nice to see you. It's very nice to hear your voice after me harassing you.
Good morning, Dr. Denise. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
I'm fine.
I'm glad to be here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I don't think the studio realized somebody's mic is on.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I'm trying to get them to know that somebody's mic is on. So let's keep going. Thank you, Mide. That we're talking about this.
Exactly.
Yeah? Okay, so let's start very briefly, and this is very key for me in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Before we talk about families, I'd love our viewers to know you. So can you briefly share your own cancer story and what life looked like before your diagnosis?
Okay. So I knew about cancer before I was diagnosed. I actually knew what cancer was, but not because I had experienced it in any of my close relatives or anyone. I just knew what it was, and I had been doing self breast checks, which is why I noticed a lump in the first place. So it wasn't it wasn't out of the blue, so to speak, Well, let me not say out of the blue, but I wasn't confused about what I was hearing and, what my doctors were saying and all of that. The interesting thing is, maybe a month before I found a lump, my sister called and said she had a dream, and that I told her I had cancer, which was very weird. I'm like, why would you be having that kind of dream? So of course we started binding and casting, and you know, started trying to figure out, like, this is not for me. What happened? Blah blah blah. So anyway, I was 32. I was 32. I was in Makodi. I was on a project, and my 6-month-old at the time, 7-month-old at the time, was with my parents. So I was expressing milk and just trying to store the milk that I would give him, or at least try to keep my breast active, because I was actively breastfeeding. And then there was a gush of blood. So a month, I think 2 months after I had my first child, I noticed blood in my breast milk. So I went to a breast surgeon at the hospital that was close to us, and he was like, "Oh, it's because you're an older mother. Your breasts are working for the first time." Did fix your face? It's loud.
Sorry.
He said it's because you're an older, because I mean, to be fair, right? He felt for a lump and didn't feel anything, so it didn't. There's nothing for him to base it on. But he said it's because you're an older mother, you're having your first child after 30, your breasts are working for the first time, so they are shocked, essentially. So that was what the blood was about. And I mean, in his defense, the bleeding stopped after like 2 weeks or so. So I was like, okay, there's nothing to worry about. But then I saw this lump, and it's like, okay, that's not what the plan was and everything. But the interesting thing was, I immediately cut my journey short, and I went back home. I went to find a doctor that I was comfortable with, and I went into the doctor's office, and I saw a cross section of a breast, and I was like, okay, I feel very comfortable. I think I'm in the right place. So I had a lumpectomy done. It was confirmed to be cancerous, but it was very early stage, DCIS in situ. And then the lab asked for a wider excision, which we provided. So I had 2 lumpectomies, which was very frustrating. Then after the lab confirmed that the margins were clean, but it was showing signs of being invasive, the doctor gave me multiple options. He says, you can do hormonal therapy, you can do chemo, you can do radiotherapy, you can do a conservative mastectomy, or do a full mastectomy. So I turned to my husband and I'm like, guy, I feel most comfortable with the mastectomy. I will be one-breasted, but I will be cancer-free. And the one question he asked me was, will you be alive? And that was the decision maker for me. I was just like, yeah, let's just do the mastectomy and get it over with. And the blessing about it was, there were lymph nodes taken out as well, and all of the margins were clean, the lymph nodes were clean, so it was caught very early. I didn't need to do any other treatment after doing the mastectomy, because according to the doctor, it was like using a sledgehammer to kill an ant. But it was what gave me the comfort that I needed, to be sure that, okay, I've made the right decision regarding this treatment.
Wow, you see, your story is very different, and it's very nice to hear it from different perspectives. All our cancer stories are very different, and a lot of times people don't realize
Yeah.
If somebody got the diagnosis early, what could happen. Okay, and based on this now, the question I was about to say to you was, and I'm still going to ask you, but we're going to take it from a different perspective now. So now the cancer diagnosis affects more than one person.
Of
And
course.
one person that it affected in your house immediately was your husband, who said, are you going to die? A lot of people a lot of wives don't say that about their own husbands. Majority in our space, at least we both understand the space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how did it change the emotional and financial and social life of your family? Especially, and the key one is, what do you believe any Nigerian families experience once it enters the home? I know
Mm.
what the experience for my children. I want to hear what you experience for yours, and maybe we can put something together if there are any missing. Yeah?
Okay, okay. So, you know how we have that African proverb that says that it takes a village to raise a child. It never stops taking a village. I think that's what cancer has taught me. It never stops being the case. Because even though my own line of treatment was, for lack of a better word, straightforward, it was still very expensive. I was getting treated in a private hospital in Victoria Island, which is even more expensive than the private hospital in Ikeja. So just that alone was a lot of, I couldn't afford it. It wasn't something that I had savings in my bank, or my husband had savings in the bank for. So we still had to reach out to family. We still had to let people know what was going on. And to be honest, anytime I say the story, I just thank God for the families that I have. That's on my own side and on my husband's side, because my mom was ready to donate her breast for me so that I will not be I will not be one breasted. She's like, there's nothing I'm using this for again. I've cuckoo had all my children, but you're the one that is good, you know. And people that heard what I was going through, I didn't even know. By the time that people started sending us money, I didn't even know how much I needed, you know. So it was a village effort. And for anyone who is going through cancer, it can't be done alone. Doesn't matter how resourceful, or how much the person has, or how comfortable they are, or, you know, it doesn't matter how independent they are. It never really can be done alone. Because, I remember after my surgery, I was in my mother-in-law's house, and there were just so many hands. I don't remember what was going on. There was, my hospital room was full. Everybody was coming to the hospital to say hello, to check on me, to help me take a shower, to do all sorts of things. And then in my mother-in-law's house, which is very far in Lagos, like, I was surprised at the people that were coming to visit me at the house, to make sure that I had everything I needed, bringing food, bringing some people, because I still had a 1-year-old. By the time I did my surgery, my child was 1 and a few months. So there are people that will come and just, let me carry your baby while you're resting. So it never stops taking a village. And the major difference between people who struggle with cancer and people who survive it, or who go through it relatively easier, is support. It's not money. Money is, yes, if you think about it, raising a person, or if in the context of taking a village to raise a child, raising a person is multifaceted. Yes, there is the financial part of it, there's morals, there's resources, there's love, there's guidance, and all of that. But the love is what holds everything else together, if you ask me.
Yeah,
because you can go through treatment and still not feel complete.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now. So when you talk about cancer treatment, and the fact that it places an enormous burden on finances in homes, And we both know that a lot of families break up, if not
Oh
for
yeah.
anything. And I always say this thing, a lot of people get annoyed with me that cancer patients are the most expensive begging community in the world. People
Oh,
get
it's the
annoyed.
absolute truth.
But a lot of people get annoyed with me that how can you say that? And I'm like, it's not so much about the treatment. People forget that our begging is not about the treatment, but
Mhm.
rather about everything else. Our children, like you're saying, it wasn't about you alone. It was people coming, people. Okay, so what practical advice would you give a family trying to balance treatment, works, families, their family life, their children, their household bill? This is a very interesting question because on hindsight, if I ask myself, I didn't know how to balance it. I want to be honest with myself.
Mhm.
Do you think you have any strategies to balance it? I think I'm only
Um,
balancing it now.
hmm, Balancing, that's a tough one. Because I think, and this may be this may be an African problem because we're not very good at
Aha.
sharing our issues, right? Don't know which evil spirit is going to find out that you have cancer now and use it against you. So I think that this is um more an African, because I mean, if you observe
Okay, well, let me
people
just
in
rephrase this. Would you put
mm,
the issues of balancing down to stigmatization?
absolutely.
Okay.
Well, no. Let me not say
No, no,
absolutely.
I wouldn't say absolutely. I would say partially.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that it's. I don't think it's absolutely. I'll say maybe like 70%, because people don't want to share. I mean, for you to really, for lack of a better word, spread out to balance, right? It means that everybody needs to know what's going on with you, or at least a lot of people that are not outside your immediate circle need to know what's going on with you. And you're not worrying about, okay, am I going to now be telling everybody that I have cancer? I mean, we know of people in our community that don't, their blood relatives don't know that they had cancer, and it's, I mean, during the summit, one of the panelists was saying that she didn't tell her parents, she didn't tell her immediate family because she's like, they can't handle it. And she didn't think that they would be useful for her in her decision making or providing support. Like, she needs somebody that she can cry, a shoulder that she can cry on. She doesn't want to be petting anybody, which is the reality of a lot of people. Which is why sometimes maybe what you need is not in your immediate circle. You may need to spread out a bit, and that's where the issue of how many people do I want to tell? Am I sure that I can trust those people? But with respect to how to balance it, there has to be a, should I say, an understanding on the part of the families that are going through cancer treatment, where they agree that, okay, you know what, this thing does not define us. It may be what we're going through right now, but it is not the definition of who we are. And in that case, we need to be willing to accept help from wherever it comes, especially from people we trust.
So,
So,
this is Survivors Month.
mhm,
Give me top three priorities. So it's priority advice
mhm,
for anybody that has just been diagnosed today. The focus. Let's focus. When we talk about this thing, we have to be very focused on what people are going to take away. What lessons? Just give me.
okay. First thing is, act immediately. Don't wait. Don't don't I mean, pray. Don't don't go to the mountain and not do anything. Pray that God will make your treatment in the hospital work. That's where faith and medicine, in my opinion, that's where faith and medicine mix. Secondly, tell somebody, or at least tell people, build a community around you, a community of people that you can trust, that you know for a fact, every step of the way, you can depend on them to be there for you. Third, ask your family to get tested. I think those would be the top three things, because we're seeing a lot of genetics in cancer and all of that. I mean, which is interesting because nobody in my bloodline had cancer, at least for the 3 previous generations before me. So I don't.
You answered my last question I wanted for you.
Okay.
And it's very interesting because I was trying to see, I was waiting, genetics and involvement, and it made me immediately ask myself, my goodness, Denise, you've had this thing for 10 years. Have you asked your family to be tested? Honestly, I haven't. And that is bad considering I am an advocate and I make a lot of noise about it. No. I think I haven't because I am in an environment where if there was supposed to be an issue, they would have said to me,
they would have told you,
you need to get tested. I think that's why I've taken it for granted. But actually, I love that. Get tested if you know you come from a family that has ever had a cancer diagnosis, just to make sure you're on the safe side. Wow, thank you very much. Mide, you see, I told you that whenever we have these conversations, they're a lot easier than you think. I'm very happy because I listened to you and I asked myself, Denise, what did you discuss and what were your key things? And it just shows that all our issues, all our drives are almost the same. The only difference is our experiences bring out different goods and different bads. And I'm glad that you are one of the few people, if not the only person that's ever been on my show to actually talk about this cancer journey from a positive perspective. Most people have had a very, very negative experience. And that's why I'm glad you're on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a very insightful conversation. And I pray that this gives hope to anybody who's newly diagnosed, you can fight this thing. I've been cancer-free for 7 years.
You see, you are cancer-free. I mean it, but we're still smiling, right? So to those of you out there, look at us. We're still smiling. Mide, thank you very much for sharing your journey and with honesty and courage. I really appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Tell him that I said that we appreciate him because honestly, a lot of husbands just run away from this.
They just run away.
They run away. And today's conversation reminds us that while cancer affects one person physically, it touches an entire family, emotionally, socially, and financially. Yet with love, good information, timely treatment, and strong support, families can find strength together. So as we mark Survivors Month, we're getting towards the end of it. Firstly, I would like us to honor every survivor, every caregiver, and every family who has walked beside a loved one. Your resilience matters, your voice matters, and your stories give hope to others. For if you notice any unusual changes in your body, please, not just breast. Breasts are the ones that people talk about a lot more, but a lot of other cancer diagnoses are out there.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Denise Ejo, and her guest, Mide Agbola, looking at the role of family when cancer enters the family. At about now, we have entertainment and lifestyle.
Morning.